So wait a minute, random internet guy, just looking at that title, are you trying to say that Planetos is going to get trampled to death by a genocide of giant titanic monsters? No, not at all. That would be a wild theory, though. However, I'd like to comment on something entirely different today. Welcome back, everyone, or welcome for the first time if this is your first video you're seeing. I know it's been quite a while. I've been doing a lot of stuff and having some pretty significant back injuries. But today I thought I'd take time away from a very serious project that has been occupying all of my time to do this little video about the two worlds my toes have been dipped in as of late. And so as you may have guessed, we're going to talk about in A Song of Ice and Fire theory, but we're also going to talk about some anime. So let's get into it. What is Attack on Titan? Well, Attack on Titan is an animated series, one of the most popular of all time. And without spoiling too much of what's going on in the show for you, it's about giant Titan monsters. And there's also some serious political controversy around it. But we're not going to talk about that in this video. Spoiler alert here. In Attack on Titan, these giant titanic monsters have been formed into an enormous wall. Not dissimilar to the wall in the north. They actually have a lot of visual similarity and even some thematic similarity, though they're deployed very differently in a lot of senses throughout both stories. And there isn't a direct Night's Watch analog, if you will, though the Survey Corps has some crossovers, like venturing beyond the wall, for example. So I'm going to show you a little bit of this process. As you can see, the Titans that form the wall in Attack on Titan sort of all stand together and then fuse into the structure. Now, don't let me lose you here, this does connect back to A Song of Ice and Fire, because there are a whole bunch of theories about how a structure that large could have been built. Now, the same mystery kind of exists in Attack on Titan. No one really knows, initially at least, where the walls came from. Much like there are lots of rumors about where the wall came from in A Song of Ice and Fire, but absolute certainty isn't really anything someone can lay claim to. And so, theories abound. And the theory we're going to talk about today in regards to A Song of Ice and Fire is one that I heard put forward by Michael Talks About Stuff. And luckily enough, I was able to rally him up to give me a synopsis of his theory. So here's Michael to break the theory down in a bit more detail.
The centerpiece of the old gods' magic in Westeros is the weirwoods, and the Northmen constantly feed blood to the weirwoods as part of their culture. So if you rewind Bran's story a little bit, to when he crossed the wall himself, he did so at a place called the Night Fort. And in the Night Fort we get what appears to be an example of a giant weirwood within the wall. Essentially, though, the quick version is that the black gate that Bran goes through is the weirwood face, the big well that he goes down, which is connected to the black gate exactly in the way that a tree trunk would be connected to a normal weirwood face, is in fact a giant tree trunk. And at the top of that well, we even see a slantwise weirwood breaking off like it is a branch, probably because it is a branch. And the other interesting thing about this giant tree that appears to be within the wall is that it's pumping water into the wall. And so if you take a look at what trees do in nature, they are essentially very good water pumps. They drink in water from underground and pump it up their trunk. And this tree that we see is always leaking water, which essentially means that the way you could build the wall is to have this entire line of weirwoods, which would form the magical barrier that we see in the wall, and also you have these weirwood water pumps there to constantly be pumping water from the underground water sources that George constantly reminds us are there, and you can pump that water up into the wall, constantly replacing all of the water that is said to melt off of the sides every time the wall is described as weeping. I'm trying to keep it brief here for this video, but if you want more details or if all of this sounds a bit crazy, check out my channel Michael Talks About Stuff. I have a whole long series that uses book quotes and all sorts of references to prove what I'm talking about here. In addition to this, the others are constantly described as shadows, either cold shadows or white shadows, and they are color matched to the weirwoods. So using the magic that George has established in World, there is a way to make shadow babies using a male life force with a female shadow binder. So essentially, if you have these bodies like the green seers that we see strapped into the weirwood net, and they are merged with the weirwoods in some sort of hive mind type way, and you cast shadows from them, those are likely the others, and the way that the others are always described is everything around them becomes very cold. So basically, if these bodies in the wall are in some way or another using this same ice magic or casting the others, you not only have the water pumps, but you have the freezer units, which essentially means that what the wall is a giant wall of weirwoods in an ice shell with these bodies strapped to it, and they are using blood magic to constantly sustain the bodies, which is why the entire Northman culture is all built around sacrificing to the weirwoods, so that you can sustain the bodies, you can maintain the magical barrier, and you can keep the others away. So if the wall falls in a future book, it may be revealed that the bodies that are within this wall either want to continue to maintain their immortality, which means the others are going to come back and try to get everyone back into submission, feeding more blood to the weirwoods, or possibly they are trying to end this icy immortality that they have created for themselves. After thousands and thousands of years, they have decided this is enough of that, and they want to end this entire weirwood system. In either case, finding out the truth about the wall and the others and the old ways culture as a whole is essentially going to be a pretty big brain breaker for someone like Bran, who not only was raised with this entire culture and thinking it was some sort of good thing, but in fact who is actually strapped up to the weirwoods now himself and is in line to suffer the same fate, good or bad, as all of these other bodies who are strapped to the trees. What he will decide to do with this information is going to be one of the most interesting things to come in the future books.
So there we go. I think without diving too deep into Attack on Titan, we can see a lot of similarities just on the surface if we're only familiar with A Song of Ice and Fire. But if you're familiar with both works, you can probably see lots of deep crossover in what Michael is putting forward here. Now, cards on the table, I'm a lot more of an A Song of Ice and Fire fan than I am an Attack on Titan nerd. But no matter which story you prefer, I think there's some undeniable similarities here between potential theories and what we actually see in the conclusion of Attack on Titan. We don't know how A Song of Ice and Fire will end yet, and we're not truly certain of the nature of the wall. But if the wall does have some kind of interesting magical core like Michael is putting forward here, it may come to pass that there are some similarities between the two stories. So what do you think? Put it in the comments. What are your theories on the wall? Do you like this theory? Do you think it's fun and interesting? Do you think it is similar to Attack on Titan? And also let me know if you'd like to see a wall analysis theory, because I've seen a couple different theories put forward about what the wall is, and I wouldn't mind taking a look at them all together in a deep dive. So I know this video was very short. Like I said, I've been very busy with other stuff. I've had a back injury, or rather an old back injury that's just recurringly giving me problems. And of course, there's always just regular life going on. But I hope this has been a fun little stopgap filler episode that has maybe gotten you to think about a new theory that you weren't familiar with before, or that maybe has gotten you to think about your own fun theories on the wall, perhaps even ones that cross over with a different work. So thank you guys so much for watching, and again, put it in the comments. What are your thoughts on the wall? What are your ideas? What do you like? And I will see you next time. Quick shout out to the patrons too over on Patreon who have been kindly putting up with me not really putting out much on Patreon as I haven't been putting out much here on YouTube. So just wanted to say thanks again. We got Hawk, we got Deter LaCroix, we got the Interesting Nerd Club, and there should be a couple more names up on the screen right now. We got Chables and we got Miranda. So thank you again so much, guys, for helping me pay for cat food. Been a big help. And as always, if you feel like tossing a couple bucks my way and you don't mind helping to support some adorable kitty cats, and you don't mind the slow output of content, you can go over to Patreon. There will be exclusive things, and of course, you typically get early access to videos. Not this one because it was so short, but other ones in the future. So thank you again to everyone for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.